start at the top. Nick Saban. We know why we hate Nick Saban here in town. Do we not? I mean, look, it all happened during those 2 years he was with the Miami Dolphins, and it didn't stem from the fact that the Dolphins doctors screwed him by suggesting, this Breeze, he'll never throw another pass again. And Dante Culpepper, even though he was timed in a wheelchair at 9.6 in the 40-yard dash, they said, well, this is your guy, Nick. Imagine the time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you. The Defo Show, along with the red-hot Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest, and happy to have you along for the ride. Tony Segreto going to go old school with us, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. That's coming up actually kind of early today, as Tony's going to join us in about 10 minutes right here on the program, and should be a lot of fun. So many different things to talk about. I know Tony's a big baseball fan, so he'll probably get into some of this Hall of Fame stuff. How popular is that conversation, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Do people even give a shit anymore about Halls of Fame?
I don't know. It used to be. I remember growing up. Fuck growing up. You and I used to do like hours on, does this person belong? Does that person belong? The fact that I didn't know it was coming and it just popped up on the bottom line last night. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely showing how far it's gone. It's not the conversation it once was.
Is it just that we're in Miami and this is about as far from a baseball town as you could get? Maybe only eclipsed by. Well, I mean, Oakland is losing its team, so they probably aren't going to care very little about the Oakland A's. But and they never drew any fans because supposedly they had such a shitty stadium situation and usually lousy teams. But they did inspire a lot of people where they were one of those teams like the Tampa Bay Rays who probably, you would have to say that baseball in Florida, which just surprises the living daylights out of me, is a complete and total failure. The Marlins have had attendance problems since their inception. Wayne Huizenga, I believe, sold the team because, and I remember this day distinctly, happened to be in an elevator, and there was an elevator. You couldn't walk up. There were no stairs to the second floor if you went in the press entrance. You're familiar with this, right? So you have to take, there are like two elevators that go up there.
Yep.
And so I get in one, and who pops on? You're reluctant to hold the door. You're just hoping it closes so they don't recognize it's you because you want to get the hell out of there and off the first floor after going through security and whatever else, parking and all of this different stuff. Even with like the most elite of passes, still a pain in the ass parking at a stadium usually, unless you're in the players' parking lot. So I'm hoping the elevator doors close, and who sticks a hand in there but Wayne Huizenga, the owner of the team. So it's him and his wife, and they get in the elevator, and I don't know what to do. I mean, I talked to Wayne a couple of times very casually. In fact, that was one of the few scoops that I ever had in my lifetime as a reporter in South Florida, which I didn't consider myself to be one of those let's dig it up, this information reporting
news guy.
But I happened to be at a charity golf tournament that Wayne Huizenga was part of, and there was the after tournament cocktail hour, and the hors d'oeuvres are coming out, and for some reason Wayne Huizenga sees me at the bar, and he's stepping up there to get a drink, and he says, I want to introduce you to the new owner of the then Florida Marlins.
Which is so weird.
And I'm like, new owner? What are you talking about? You sold the team? I mean, it was speculation he was going to sell it, and it was John Henry who had bought the team, and he introduces me to John Henry. And because everybody knew me as being very facetious and always clowning around and not afraid to go ahead and just throw a story out there that nobody would ever believe, like that Marino had been traded to Dallas on April Fool's Day for Troy Aikman straight up. We nearly, the switchboard at the station blew up at that point, and the owner of the station that I was reporting that on April Fool's Day came in with a cease and desist and an angry face. You talk about an angry face. Said, you better stop this right now. Like, who the fuck would believe that? Nobody. It was like when I implied on another April Fool's Day that Doug Flutie, who had just retired, was signing with the Dolphins to be a third-string quarterback. And reporters actually went out to investigate this story. Our good friend Harvey Fialkoff was victimized by that. As his editor said, hey, find out anything you can about this. And I was just playing around with the idea of how obsessive people are about any kind of Dolphin minutia. That, made up story about Doug Flutie coming to the Dolphins as a third-string quarterback would actually draw headlines on the back page of the sports section and have a follow-up article which concluded that, well, we're really not sure if this happened or not. Of course it didn't happen. It was April fucking Fool's Day. So I was kind of known for that sort of thing, and I called the radio station I was working for at the time. It was WQAM, and who's on the air but Boog Shambi, who went on to great distinction. Now is the play-by-play voice. I mean, following in the footsteps of the late great Harry Carey and many others. He's now the voice of the Chicago Cubs on TV, and has done national stuff, and has worked to a great baseball acclaim. Has a great voice for the thing, and obviously knowledge and love and passion for the game. But he completely and summarily dismisses my call when I say, hey, I don't know if anybody knows this yet, but the Marlins have been sold to this guy named John Henry. He's like, fuck you, DeForest.
Yeah, that's a problem. Your reputation, you jerk off.
Is it the boy who cried wolf?
Yes, yeah, 100%. That's why I don't even try a lot of the time. We've actually had times where we sort of broke stuff, but
yeah.
I'm like, they're not going to believe.
No one's going to believe it. Yeah, so why should we report it?
Like,
that was at a time too where people were obsessed. I mean, ESPN had just started claiming that they broke every story. Yep, and our good friend Hank Goldberg, of course, was always trying to take credit. Well, when I broke that story. It's like, Hank, there was a press release 2 days ago saying that this happened.
That's my favorite, when guys break stories off of a press release. It's like, you didn't break anything then, you dumbass.
They sent you the information as they did to everybody else in the media.
I hate that. They do that all the time. Now, there's a few guys, I'll leave nameless, that's all they do is post stuff that was already out in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you. I heard that 3 days ago, you slow ass.
You don't want to mention our good friend Andy Slater, in that capacity, do you? All right. No, we like him. He's a great guy, but I mean, some of the shit.
I'm like, dude, I heard that 2 weeks ago, and he gets reaction too. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm in the elevator with Wayne Huizenga, and was it Marty Huizenga, his wife's name?
Yes.
Marty Huizenga? Okay. Yep. Had a guy's name, even though she was, a very distinguished lady.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know what to say, I mean, you're in the elevator with Wayne Huizenga. There's nobody else in the elevator. I mean, other than passing gas, what do you do? So I just happened to innocuously say to Huizenga, as the Marlins were in a playoff game, I think this was against the Atlanta Braves. It was that series. And I say, hey, great night for baseball. And Wayne looks at me with a look of complete anger. And he had those icy blue eyes, right? I mean, like if you crossed Wayne Huizenga, I would imagine when he was coming up and amassing this fortune in the trash business, Lubie, there was a pretty good chance that they were going to find your body in one of those trash compactors. I mean, but he looks at me with that kind of look and says, a lot of empty seats. And then shortly after that was, when he sold the team, because, he dismantled it after the 97 World Series. And, everybody was screaming, oh, my God, how could you do that? But and it was, I think, the fact that Gary Sheffield stiffed him on a charity golf event that he had at this phenomenal course that he owns that is very exclusive. And he was holding a golf tournament. And a lot of the players, including Sheffield, one of the leaders on the team, didn't show up. And supposedly that was the clinching blow that soured him on being an owner in Major League Baseball, and he unloaded the team to John Henry shortly after that. John Henry, of course, who everybody thought was an asshole as an owner, even though he was a very nice guy, humble, quiet, and unassuming, it seemed, who had amassed his fortune selling pork bellies. And yet people despise him because he made that one misstatement where they never let it go when he said, you know what, if I don't get the money from the city for a new stadium, maybe I'll build one myself, but it's going to be a very small stadium. And everybody was like, oh, my God, how could he say so? What audacity? And it turned out, I mean, he ended up buying the Boston Red Sox. And what happened there? Got over the curse of the Bambino.
Man, fucking
my God. So, it was interesting because, this was never a baseball town. It hasn't been. Even after winning, playoff series and going to the World Series, you still could find yourself a reasonably priced ticket for all of these championship games. But so maybe we don't care about it. I know. I mean, I started reading about this Hall of Fame balloting in the New York Post. They had some very definitive thoughts and ideas on the process yesterday, and so I was looking for this news. But 3 guys get in, a couple of guys don't, and the juicers. Why is it that people differentiate one juicer from another? You would think they'd be in unison. How did Gary Sheffield, the aforementioned Gary Sheffield, get 65% of the vote? Was Alex Rodriguez not a better player than Gary Sheffield overall, Major League Baseball history?
Yes, Alex Rodriguez is one of probably Because remember, it's funny, as much as Jeter gets credit as being a fielder, he was a good fielder. He wasn't. Alex Rodriguez was a much better fielder than Derek Jeter and a much better hitter. Alex Rodriguez is probably a top 2 to 3 shortstop ever, maybe possibly.
Yeah.
You look at stats, if you get rid of the hatred and the steroids and the hitting the fucking glove like a dumbass, stat wise, and he did win a title with the Yankees, he's probably the best shortstop all around, honestly. I mean, he hit like he was a first baseman or an outfielder. And he fielded like he very close. I mean, he might not have been Ozzie Smith, but he was a really good fielder. Like,
yes, excellent.
He was the best all-around shortstop probably ever. I mean, again, Cal Ripken hit well, but he didn't like again the shortstop position before that era with Nomar, Miguel Tejada, A-Rod, and even Jeter wasn't known as a hitting position. So he hit like a guy that didn't play shortstop, and then played shortstop as almost as well as any shortstop ever. He probably is a top 10-ish player ever. I mean, if you look at stats, the fact that he was all around and he did eventually win.
Yeah.
Problem was he was a jerk off. And it wasn't that he was an ornery jerk off, right? Because we honor Pete Rose for being an ornery jerk off. He was a jerk. Like, he just didn't try hard enough at times. He whined a lot. He bitched and moaned. He wasn't leader guy. He wasn't winner guy. Like, all the things, especially talk about unwritten rules yesterday, all the things that baseball holds high, Alex Rodriguez literally spit in the face of it. Like, literally, the running down the base in a playoff game, hitting the, like, it was even he was on the Yankees, right? Even Yankee fans are like, what the fuck was that?
That was like a move you see, long ago in a girls' softball game. Sorry, Tony Segreto. Didn't mean to denigrate the sport. It's come a long way, but, you're expecting that out of a girl, It
was like little kids, like, oh, maybe if I hit it out of the glove, it'll kind of, like, it was in the middle of a playoff game, and it was Red Sox Yankees, so it was like hotly contested. Like, he just, even before the steroid stuff hit hard, he was hated. So, like,
people thought of him as a
the Rangers, the stuff with the Rangers where he got that huge contract and they never won. Like, but player wise, he's as good as any player. I mean, if you put up his stats and the area he played in, A-Rod was freaking great. He
got half the votes along with Manny Ramirez that Gary Sheffield garnered, although Sheffield fell like 10 percentage points short of getting the 75% he needed. Let's bring on a guy who could actually discuss the early days of A-Rod, which also came into question. There he is, man, the handsome one himself, our good friend Tony Segreto.
How do you feel?
It's been a mixed bag, Tony. I got to say, it's been a wild experience. Every doctor I go to has another opinion. So we'll see what happens.
What's the opinion? What's the overall opinion?
It seems to be trending in the right direction. But you never know with this thing. It's like a weird thing to detect and to figure out if it's actually, being healed up and that I can avoid the cleaver there. But we'll see. It was a little depressing yesterday. The day before, last doctor appointment I had was very encouraging. So, we'll see what happens. I have a few more visits that I have to make this week. And hopefully we'll get some kind of assessment. I mean, it looks a lot better. I actually feel okay if I wasn't doing these antibiotics every day. That they tend to weak you out a little bit.
They do.
Yeah.
The antibiotics just they target the infection.
Yeah.
But they make the rest of your body just go bleh.
Yeah. Stomach hasn't been right for
really
for 4 or 5 weeks now.
Oh Jesus!
It's a little strange. My stomach is making weirder sounds than my dog when he's.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Mine too. I swear to God, the older you get, the more sounds your body makes.
Yeah. No, it's a little strange, but in general, I'm in good spirits. I feel good. I was able to do a little walking a couple of days ago, and that might have exacerbated another situation that I'm experiencing with my knee. But I don't want to whine and cry about that because we have too much to discuss.
Hey,
and now, did you follow A-Rod when he was at Westminster Academy?
Yeah, but real quick.
Yeah.
A shout out this morning. A shout out to Joey Kornblit.
Oh, we love Joey, man. What a great guy.
And Joey's in the hospital again.
Oh no.
And he's going to get out tomorrow or Friday.
Oh, good.
And wish him nothing but the best.
And,
yeah.
We love
Joey. I love that man. He's fantastic.
He's great.
He might be our biggest fan too, Tony. Not just. I mean, obviously you and Joey are very close, having worked together all those years. With what was the name of the company that you all cashed out billions on?
Ultimate Software.
Yeah.
All catch out billions.
Wouldn't it be great, Lubie? I mean, if you and I could just work for a very generous owner one day.
The guy made billions, and he made sure everyone made money off of it.
Everybody, man. Unbelievable.
Like, why did iHeart never did that? Like, they did the opposite.
iHeart.
Kicked us out when the ship was sinking.
Yeah.
But
My severance pay could be calculated in pennies, and I was even surprised to garner that. I remember Eddie Kaplan was telling me. I mean, Eddie's a diehard baseball fan. The great Eddie Kaplan, who of course was on the air here for many, many years in South Florida, and nobody was more into baseball than I know. I mean, I have a few friends that are big diehard baseball fans, but Eddie loved it, and he bet on it very astutely and very wisely.
mhm.
And he used to go check out anything. Like he would go to minor league games when he was in Las Vegas, if you can believe that. He would go see the Las Vegas Stars play at some rinky-dink stadium out there in the middle of the desert, and enjoy it as much as if he was sitting at a blackjack table winning thousands of dollars.
I do that in Vermont. The Vermont minor league team that feeds into Boston.
Yeah,
Great baseball. Great baseball.
yeah. I mean, it's the diehard grassroots fandom. So he used to check out some of these high school games around town, and I would imagine when you were doing sports at NBC that you probably had some coverage on this. I guess that coincided with the time you were doing sports when A-Rod was a high school player and deciding whether
Yeah.
to go to the University of Miami. That
Yep.
became like the number one overall pick in the draft by the Seattle Mariners. So he decided to go ahead and take the cash then. Was no name, image, and likeness around at the time, although there might have been some under-the-table capital that was going around. I'm not sure if it stretched all the way into baseball. And he was saying he sees Westminster Academy, where A-Rod went to high school, get off the bus, and they all look like Jose Canseco.
They do.
That they may have been juicing all the way back then in high school. What is your thought about this whole Hall of Fame process, where guys are eligible for years and years, but new guys come in? For example, next year, I mean, that one of the positions is going to go to Ichiro as a first ballot Hall of Famer. You had a guy, Billy Wagner, fall 5 votes short this year, even though he's got amazing statistics. And then the juicers, seem to drop off a little bit. Although Gary Sheffield somehow, who was an admitted juicer, ended up getting 65% of the vote, 10 points away from getting into the Hall of Fame, while A-Rod and Manny Ramirez got like 35%. Do you see anything there? I mean,
A-Rod, first of all, A-Rod has done a magnificent job of turning his life around.
Oh yeah, his
You gotta give
reputation.
him credit for that because he has become more affable. He's become the voice of baseball with other guys, and then for television. The steroid thing bothers me. It bothers me because I think everybody did it, and everybody should be treated the same way. You can't tell me that some second baseman didn't try it, some shortstop didn't try it, some minor leaguer didn't try it. So that stems from years and years and years of it being abused, and I think that to be penalized for it was a shame. They shouldn't penalize guys for juicing when other guys were doing it too.
but I don't know that it was everybody. I mean, the most
I don't
surprising
think it
guy
was
to me was.
everybody, but I would be
There were a lot
surprised.
of people using it.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
would-
I think it was probably I would say a minor percentage, but it was many people.
I
I can't imagine
think
that 50% of Major League Baseball, all of those guys were juicing.
think it's at least 50%.
I think
Okay, let's say it was. Should those guys be excluded? Lubie's,
No.
on board with the idea that hey, you know what? Especially if you can't distinguish whether a guy
that's
did or
my
didn't.
problem.
I mean,
That's
like Jeff Bagwell. I mean, was he
Exactly.
juicing? Yeah. Piazza, another guy. I mean, that everybody cast assertions that he was.
Could
on
you
the juice.
imagine if Mantle and Gehrig and Maris and Hank Aaron and Gil Hodges, imagine those guys juicing.
Yeah,
what
I
the
mean,
numbers
their
would have
idea of
been.
juicing was a couple of beers before the ball game.
Yeah. Their red badge of courage was to drink a couple of beers, have a hot dog, and go play.
How is it too? I mean, Mantle obviously suffered an injury very early in his career. Rookie season when he stepped on that drain
Yeah.
in the outfield. Supposedly Joe
He
DiMaggio nudged him into that spot.
Called up
But
DiMaggio.
yeah, I mean, what's surprising is you saw very few people, and these injuries couldn't be treated as well. I mean, if a guy had a torn ACL, he was finished.
Yeah.
Rotator cuff. Ulnar nerve injury. There was no Tommy John surgery. They were essentially done. But yet, I mean, you look. They had 4-man rotations. Guys pitched complete games. Every fourth day, they went into extra innings and stayed in the ball game, and they had like long-lasting careers where they were seldom out of the lineup. It's pretty incredible by comparison. If they had been juicing, maybe that would have hurt them. I don't know.
Where did it happen? What year or what decade did it happen that you went 5 innings pitching?
Yeah.
You didn't. Where did it happen? I can't think of, back in the 60s, and I hate to bring this up because it bothers me because when other people do it, but back in the 60s, I could rattle off the Yankee starting lineup.
Oh, sure.
Now it's a hit and miss. I can't.
It's kind of like conferences. I don't feel any shame anymore about not knowing what team is in what conference.
Yeah.
in college sports, I mean, we were trying to figure out who's in the Big East anymore, and you got like Creighton. Really? I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, back then you had no free agency, and the Yankees and certain teams had their own farm systems in the major leagues. The Yankees were always grabbing the top players off the Kansas City A's, and you had other organizations that took advantage of the lesser lights, so to speak, and swiped up their good players. But I mean, there was a different time, a different era in sports. But juice was never mentioned.
No, juice was never mentioned. Never,
I don't think it existed back then.
It didn't exist back then.
Yeah,
it didn't exist back then. Hey, let's talk about. Let's not forget this coming weekend.
Yeah,
it's the best weekend in sports.
I kind of like the opening wild card weekend because you have so many games. But you're talking about all across the board. Obviously you have the conference championship games.
But the conference championship games, I just think this and last weekend was the best weekend in sports. And,
very enjoyable.
Yeah, really, really enjoyable. And that Buffalo Kansas City game was. It's a shame Buffalo can't get in. It's a shame they fall short every year. And on ESPN, they talk about it. Josh Allen done. I
thought he played great in that game. I really did. He missed maybe 1 or 2 passes, but he had some drops. 1 or 2
passes wasn't his fault. They were right in the breadbasket.
Well, that one in the end zone, he threw 1 pass in the end zone, and there was a wide open guy, and he missed him. But he did drop some beauties in there. I mean, with every opportunity for his guys to make a catch. He didn't kick that field goal. I mean, I don't know why people are blaming him and, kind of casting shade on his reputation because I thought he kept the Bills very much in the game. And if they did win, it was going to be because of Josh Allen.
So who do you like this week? Kansas City?
Don't ask me. Ask Lubie, Mr. Red Hot, Mr. On Fire.
Lubie.
Lubie went 4-0 last week against the spread. What do you think?
I mean, if we're doing the picks right now, I thought we were waiting until Thursday or Friday. In the NFC, it's hard for me the way the Lions have played and the fact that no matter what's going on, they find a way to, if they're close, they find a way to pull away. If they're down, like they shouldn't have won this week, to be brutally honest. They should have won, but the Bucs had a nice chance there. Baker Mayfield didn't go Baker at the end. It could have gotten really interesting. I just feel like I don't think they're going to win, but as long as it stays above 4, like in that 6 to 7 range, that touchdown range, the Niners aren't blowing anyone away. And people have sort of figured out Purdy. And the Deebo Samuel thing is very scary. Anyone who's watched them with or without Deebo Samuel, they are night and like the Dolphins without Tyreek Hill are better than the Niners without Deebo Samuel. Like literally, whatever McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk bring, it's not what Samuel does. Their offense literally goes off of him, and he is hurt. He probably will play, but he's not himself. And Purdy is a totally different dude right now. And the Lions just seem to sort of find a way. I don't think they win just because it is at San Francisco, but that 7 points is crazy to me. Like that's a lot of points for a team that's playing decent enough on defense and plays really efficient, smart offense. So like I'd go the Lions in the NFC, and then the AFC. I just think the Ravens are like on another level right now. And it's funny, we were talking with a guy yesterday because again, Mahomes is now the new Brady, right? You don't bet against Mahomes, but Brady didn't win every year like that. People forget like the year early on versus Jake Plummer. an average Broncos team, beat out a Patriots team that was already winning Super Bowls. Later in his career, the year that they fucked around with Steven Jackson and lost home field, they went to a Bronco team with old Peyton Manning and lost. Like, they didn't win every year when they played teams that were clearly better. Because remember, the way that he did things to win every year, they had to fuck around with the roster. So they weren't always the most talented team. So when they played some of these teams that were freaking ridiculous, they would lose. That's this. The Chiefs are not the more talented team. The Chiefs are vastly the less talented team. And you finally have Lamar Jackson playing like the guy people have talked about for years. He didn't. He wanted to run or he would throw it down the field. He's not doing that now. Like, he'll stay in the pocket and be patient and look for Zay Flowers and look for OBJ. And now they're getting Andrews back. If Lamar Jackson is willing to do that, I just don't know how you beat them over the course of 4 quarters at home. So to me, the way the Chiefs are playing, I don't trust that offense at all. And Mahomes can be Mahomes all he wants, but he's meeting his match. Like, Lamar Jackson isn't some dude. Like, right now, he is the MVP, not Mahomes. And Mahomes might be the best quarterback in the league, but right now the Ravens are the best team in football. And that line is low enough where I could see them winning easy. So I feel like it's a Ravens-Lions when you're taking the point spread into account.
I agree.
Wow. Yeah, you may as well ride Lubie's back, Tony.
I agree. I want the Chiefs to win, but if the Ravens win, so be it. But I really, my wife's from Michigan, my whole family's from Michigan, so for the Detroit to win, that town would go absolutely crazy. And I would love to see nothing more than that upset and Detroit to win. I've paid attention to Detroit the last 6 games, and they find a way to win. They find a way. The Jared Goff has resurrected his career, and what's the guy's name? St. John?
St. Brown.
St. Brown.
Holy
shit. He is
great, man.
Just crazy. So I like the Detroit, and I like the Chiefs, but this Lamar Jackson finds a way to win. He finds.
I think the Baltimore defense also has to be
just tough.
The best unit that's out there. If you're talking offense, defense of the 4 teams remaining, I think Baltimore's defense is superior to all of them, including the offense. That you don't see the same firepower with the Chiefs that you used to, and kind of lays over the offense and defense of both the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions. It'd be a nice story. I mean, I'd love to see Detroit win it, so I'm going to be rooting for them. And I think I agree with Lubie. I mean, the Ravens. Tell somebody shows me that they can compete with them. I know the Chiefs. They've been to 6 straight AFC Championship games, but that being said, I don't see them being as powerful and as dynamic as they've been the last 5. So I think the Ravens are going to win that game at home. We have to bow out for a sec, but Tony, you're going to stick around with Lubie, and Ed Garcia is going to join us here on the show. So
right here, the one you can say,
people,
hey,
it's time to go in the bag. There it is, Ed Garcia. Ed, hello and goodbye. And we're going to come back with all of this in a moment here on the Defo Show without Defo. So I got to get on the bag, man. I'm not talking about the heavy bag. I'm talking about the IV bag. So we'll see you guys next time. And stick around, people. A lot more to come here on Old School with Tony Segreto. Brought to you by the great people at Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Back with all of that in a moment. Now that.
Good morning.
It's 8:31.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor, where are we?
All righty, good morning, world. You got a piece of Defo. He now has to go do his own. I still think the statement, Jeff DeForest doing his own IV treatment twice a day, is something I would never have said before, and the fact that I still say it daily shocks my mind.
It shocks my mind too.
I'm a nurse practitioner. The dude literally is doing his own medical treatments successfully every day. So enjoy, Defo. Thank you for taking care of yourself. We appreciate it. And we now are joined by not only Tony Segreto, but the one and only Ed Garcia, Mr. Michigan himself, the town of winning. It was.
Let's go Lions. You see the bottom of the screen?
Of winning. The Lions now joining Hail Victor behind him. Good morning, Mr. Ed Garcia. How you doing, my friend?
Good morning. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. I'm with you all the way, man. I want to see the Lions get to the championship. I just think that means so much to the city, so much to the state, so much to just big. You know, and what would it what would it mean? Excuse me. What would it mean for the Harbaughs brothers to win both championships?
That would be pretty cool. And I tell you, that'll be a stat 30 years from now. That'll be like going into the third quarter. They're like, hey, what two brothers each won a Super Bowl and a national championship, you know, way back. Who was it and when? And I think that would be a pretty cool feat. But anyway, so yeah, I'm excited. I think this weekend's going to be some really, really good football. The Lions definitely have their work cut out for them. I mean, the Ravens are playing at the top of their game right now. I mean, they are Super Bowl ready. And Mahomes, I'll tell you, he's kind of in the zone. He kind of reminds me of Brady. Like, he's in playoff mode and ready to rock and roll. So we're going to see a lot of darts this weekend. It's going to be very, very exciting.
Well, one thing I'll say about the Lions, it's funny that area is always known, the Midwest, especially Detroit, as blue-collar, cars, tires, just work hard and whatever. And what's interesting,
you're not wrong.
And what's interesting is that Dan Campbell gives that image, and that's fine. But the team, it's more than that to me when I watch that team play. They are tough and they are hungry, but they're very efficient and they're very smart. Like, it's funny, people forgot how good Jared Goff was because of that Super Bowl, and I guess the year following it. But St. Brown was a guy that was good in college, but he wasn't great. He was like the 14th receiver taken, and he's not. He for his size, he is an all-around great. Like, at the end of the game, when it was at 3rd and 11, and I was like, oh shoot, he's 2 yards short, and he carried a dude 3 yards, and it was like he knew it. He was like, I'm okay going short because I know this safety is not going to stop me. That play was, to me, indicative of what Detroit is. No matter what's going on, whether they're leading and they pull away, whether they're short and they just do enough to get the victory, I'm like, oh, this team's going to be tough. Like, these are the kinds of teams, and you saw with your Michigan team, as much as I discounted them, those teams are the ones that people write off that at the end are like, we're here. So I don't know if you guys win it all, but it's hard for me to not think you're not covering and not in this game versus the Niners this weekend. Like, both sides of the ball, with the coaching, it feels like this team is coming together at the exact right time.
Yep. I think it's one word, and it's grit. I mean, Dan Campbell has and has taught that team grit. I think there's a leadership lesson in both Michigan and the Lions, but what Campbell has put together. I mean, you brought up St. Brown and 14. Talk about grit. He can sit there and name every receiver that was picked in front of him, what round, what number, and all that. And you know what? He has that. I bet you it's on his mirror. And he wakes up every morning and he's going to be like, I'm going to pass that person. I'm going to pass that person. I'm going to be that person. And I'm going to give it all today so I can go to bed satisfied. And that guy goes to bed satisfied every single night. But that sums up the team. I mean, you look at the amount of dollars on like the Cowboys. I mean, how much money, how much payroll did they spend on the Cowboys? And then you look at the Lions. It's just a bunch of scrappers that just care about football, and that's what got them to where they're at today. So
people forget that Jared Goff was the #1 pick.
Yep,
and
they do.
And
he was thrown away. He was thrown away for scraps.
It matters. It matters where you play. It matters where you play. And Campbell has embraced him. He's given him the right to change plays. He's resurrected his career.
It matters who you play for. And even when Goff came to the Lions, he was really supposed to be a temp. It was just a bargaining chip for something else too.
They got to pick picks to build this roster, and they've done a great job with it.
Yep. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, you put things together, and then there's the magic. So, we see that even a lot at Texas Roadhouse, just putting people in the right spots, and it just grows. It's really cool. Very, very exciting team.
I was going to ask you if that ever plays a role in Texas Roadhouse. You take a server who was just so in Miramar and put him in your whatever building.
Miami.
Right. It could be a bartender from someone that, cooks the steaks to preparing the salad mix or, doing the mashed potatoes. It's pretty amazing. Obviously we have so many different positions, but, sometimes we call it, putting the person in the right seat on the bus. They may not, be the driver, but, they could be the one giving the directions and everything else. And that as leadership. And I think that's what Campbell's done. And what we all do is just put people in the right spots and watch the bus take off.
You got to be real pleased with what's going on at Texas Roadhouse. And now with the weekend, with the games coming up on Sunday, and what it was like this past weekend, what do you got planned for the upcoming week?
We got the same stuff going on. I'll tell you, it's going to be a great weekend. Ice cold beer, legendary margaritas. Come on in. I mean, our margaritas are the absolute best. I actually, last week I was in Houston, got to try a lot of different Spanish restaurants, Tex-Mex, this, that, margaritas up and down the coast. But you can taste the freshness in our house margarita, okay, which I think blows everybody else out of the water. Now, if you want to go a little bit crazy, we have the ultimate. It's a little bit on the high end. It's made with all the top shelves. But I'll tell you, our house has 4 ingredients, and it tastes absolutely awesome. I mean, the freshest out there for a single restaurant or even a restaurant with 650, restaurants, out there across the U.S.
We keep hearing about going to Texas Roadhouse and having a steak or having whatever. You could go there and just order apps and be satisfied and get a nice 5 or 6 apps and share among
a couple of drinks,
4 people, and you're set for life, or for dinner anyway.
Hey, I'll tell you, we have the combo appetizer, which you can choose a couple of different things to put on there. We do the snake bites, which takes us 2 days put together. It's like a homemade jalapeno popper. We take the jalapenos and the Monterey Jack cheese and some seasonings and then some other peppers, put it all together, and makes a really, really good what we call the snake bite. Then we have our boneless wings that we put together. We actually hand cut, bread them ourselves.
Oh, wow.
And then the potato skins, which again, these don't come frozen. It's not in a box. We just throw them in the oven.
That's the thing, boy.
It's a real baked potato. We season it. We put, fresh shredded cheddar on top with some bacon. So that way, and then when we toast it, all the bacon juices just go right down on top of that cheese. Dip that in some sour cream and you're good to go. But that's our combo appetizer. One of my favorite ways to get it.
Ed, you open up most of the Texas Roadhouse is open about 4:30 or 5. What time do your people get there to start prepping everything?
Oh wow.
Well, it again depending on what time they open. Most roadhouses, like you said, are about between 3 and 4. So we'll shoot for like 11 or noon because again, it's fresh. So and we really don't even start cooking the stuff for the dinner like in the morning at 11 and noon. It's like the salad mix, the cold stuff and things like that. But hey, at 3, 4 o'clock, that's when we're putting the baked potatoes in the oven and getting all that stuff ready. Because I'm telling you, when you cut into that baked potato, it just came out of the oven like less than 2 minutes ago. Yeah. It steams. Yeah. 100%. Now the steaks, the guy that cuts the steaks, sometimes they get there 2, 3 in the morning, whatever works for their schedule. and how many pounds they have to cut. And I can tell you, they'll cut up to 400 or 500 pounds in a day of just getting ready for that day.
Who won the cutoff contest?
Did you guys have your?
So we have one more. We did. That was last Wednesday. So from Melbourne, Florida, I had 3 people make it to this top 25 round, and then there's 5 groups of top 25. And we had Melbourne, Florida. Jordan Mintz is moving on to the next round for the $25,000. So very exciting stuff. He took, I want to say he took 3rd overall in this top 25 round. My other guy took 6th, and I'll tell you, he missed it by like 0.04, which is like a sliver of beef. So, it's a little bit of a trick. He cut, I'll explain, like the sirloin. There's this, 9-pound piece of sirloin. And when he went to go make the cut, it came out, he was going for 11-ounce sirloin, which is what we serve on our menu. It came out to a 12. So he has 2 choices. He could try to cut it in half and go for a perfect 6 and 6, or go for the 11, because if you miss, then you're out 5 ounces. It's like missing that safety or, the 2-point conversion. So he decided he went for the 11 and cut down the 1 ounce, and now he's been beating himself up for a couple of days.
No.
I just would have split it.
No.
In the top 5. So
No.
anyway, but it's a really cool competition. I'll make sure you guys come check it out next year.
Yeah, that'd be fun. It's one thing we talk about all the time. We do our food show with Mike Mayo, where we go to all these different restaurants, and we focus a lot of the time on, quote unquote, mom and pop. And it's funny, a lot of the places we go to, a few of them are like lightning rods, where you either love them or you hate them. One place that pops up is not mom and pop, but acts like mom and pop, which is Texas Roadhouse, which anytime Texas Roadhouse comes up on Let's Eat, it's so funny. It's one of the unanimous beloved places because and we talk about this all the time. You guys are sort of the best of both worlds, where yes, you're quote unquote chain. You said, I didn't realize over 600 restaurants, which seems ungodly, but you are owner operator driven, and it's 100% true. We've known some of the owner operators in the past. You yourself own a bunch of different ones, and also are in management. But when people use the words, the term scratch kitchen is getting used a lot now. And I'm not saying these places aren't, I don't know. But we were lucky enough to actually be in your kitchen. You made sure before we even started any of the partnership that we knew you were not messing around. And the fact that the dressings, the bread, the potato, literally when you say 99.9%, because you'll admit there's a couple things that aren't just because, and it's not within your purview, but it has nothing to do with breaking away from that. But like when you go and use the word fresh, and it sticks with me, when you go to a lot of the places that we go with Mike Mayo, I feel that when I'm at Texas Roadhouse. You guys literally, the way the service is, the hospitality, the way you guys are conscientious, the way that the food comes out, the way that everything is systematic, goes with the chain, right? But the actual care and the taste of the food feels like mom and pop. And that's why Texas Roadhouse is what it is. And that's why we're so grateful to be partnered with you. And that's why you guys are growing and growing, growing like a weed, because in a day and age where it's hard to find something you can trust, we can trust Texas Roadhouse.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's just that pride factor. And I think the community part is having that owner operator for the town. And we really do give them so much leeway with the decisions, and they're vested in growing their restaurant. So I think that's the best part. It's so cool with what they do. I'm here in Vieira, Florida right now, and they were raising some money for the local cheerleaders. And they were outside all night, doing their cheers as the guests were coming in. And I'll tell you, it was wall to wall. We were on a 30, 40-minute wait last night.
Oh, wow.
Tuesday
night. Wow.
But they were coming in to support, the locals. And I think that's what's so cool, is to give the money back. They didn't ask me. They don't say, hey, Ed, can we give 10, 15, whatever they donated back to the school. That was the owner operator, Eric, last night. He's like, hey, I want to take care of this program. They're doing it for the right reason. So, he's like, hey, let's come on in. Let's do a fundraiser for them. And I think that's that community connection, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, Ed, dare I ask who you're picking this week?
Let's get through this weekend. I want to see the Lions. I already told you, Tony, if the Lions win this weekend, I'm going to be in Vegas. So I may see.
Oh,
who
nice!
Yes,
Good for you.
I mean, the Lions have never been to the Super Bowl.
No,
So
ever,
I mean,
ever.
yeah. So
Ever.
it's like, hey, and I got kind of shafted out of going to the Natty, so for Michigan. So I'm gonna go to that one. So we'll see.
All right, you'll be your eye on Defo was supposed to be in Vegas, but now dealing with his stuff, we'll have to hopefully count on Ed to be our eyes on the ground and ears on the ground. Good luck this weekend. We all actually are at this point now pulling for you. And hopefully have some positive things to talk about when it comes to the Lions next week, Ed. We appreciate you, and we'll talk next week, my friend.
One pride.
One pride. They always have a saying. Hail Victor, now one pride.
Yeah.
Good for them. We love all of you. We love you, Mr. Tony Segreto, and we're not getting rid of you that easily because I from what I remember, you're going to be joining us a couple more times this week. So I'm super stoked to see you crossing over from the Defo Show into the Mike Mayo's Lunchbox.
I'm going to be at where are you going?
Delaware tomorrow, and obviously every Friday we're at Gulfstream.
Delaware tomorrow, and then Friday at the Gulfstream. So I'll be on three straight days.
Nothing like Tony Segreto, and right here with South Florida Live. We love you, sir. Enjoy your afternoon, and we will see you tomorrow, my friend.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The one and only Tony Segreto. He was the one and only Jeff DeForest. I know we're ending earlier these days. Things are going to shift in our schedules, and we'll be back to a full hour soon. Defo with these treatments, it's fun, and he's handling it like a champ, and I'm proud of him. He's not testing his limits. He's not risking himself, and it means a lot to us, and hopefully his body means a lot to his body. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we will have Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Today, we are live from Gilbert, 17th Street Grill in the Fort Lauderdale, off of 17th Street in Fort Lauderdale. And tomorrow, we will be at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. We love getting down there, and Friday at Gulfstream Park. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. Check us out on nofilter.net, the morning briefing, Caffeine TV, and check us out right here each and every morning at 8 o'clock for Mr. Jeff DeForest, for Tony Segreto, for Ed Garcia, and we love Texas Roadhouse. I am Mike Lubie Lubitz. We'll check you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock right here on South Florida Live.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.